and welcome. In this video, I'll be diving into the curious and often tricky world of Romanian impersonal verbs. Now, many of these verbs or constructions they are used in have direct equivalents in English and are fairly easy to spot. But here's the catch. In Romanian, they often appear in ways that get translated into personal forms in English. That may be a bit misleading and might throw you off or make you second guess how to use these verbs properly. But before we dive in, let's first clarify the difference between personal and impersonal verbs. Personal verbs are those that usually follow a full conjugation pattern. This means you can use personal verbs in all the usual person and number forms. For example, take the verb a mânca. It can be conjugated like this. Eu mănânc, tu mănânci, el mănâncă, ea mănâncă, noi mâncăm, voi mâncați, ei mănâncă, ele mănâncă. So, this is a personal verb. Notice here how everywhere there is a subject pronoun and the verb form matches or agrees in person and number with the subject. Impersonal verbs, on the other hand, usually don't have a specific or clearly defined subject. Often the subject is either missing or implied, and these verbs typically appear only in the third person form. In Romanian, there are verbs that are inherently impersonal, but also verbs that become impersonal or can be used in an impersonal way within certain contexts. Let's take the verb a mânca as an example. Știu un loc în care se mănâncă bine. In this sentence, se doesn't refer to any specific person. There's no clear subject, no I, you, or they. Instead, the action is presented in a general, vague way. This construction can be understood in several natural ways in English. I know a place where you can eat well, or I know a place where people eat well, or I know a place where the food is good. This se is a common feature of verbs that take an impersonal meaning, even though they are typically personal verbs. It's important not to confuse this impersonal se with the reflexive se you see in sentences like el se spală or ea se spală, where the action is directed back towards the subject. These Romanian constructions are understood in English as either an impersonal passive, for example, se știe că, or se crede că, se spune că, se aude că, or with an impersonal they referring to people in general. But now let's focus on inherently impersonal verbs. These verbs have no real subject, there's no person doing the action. They are only used in the third person. Think about the phrase îmi pasă de tine. If we are to translate this into English, it's going to be I care about you. Unlike English, where you can conjugate the verb and you have a subject and a predicate, I care, you care, he cares, and so on, in Romanian, îmi is a dative pronoun referring to the person experiencing this psychological state. So it's an experiencer. It is not the subject of the sentence. There is actually no subject here, and the verb, like many impersonal verbs, is used in the third person. Okay, let's take a look at more examples of inherently impersonal verbs. Whether verbs are impersonal. These verbs describe natural phenomena that occur without any subject, not even an impersonal it, like in English. Ninge, plouă, tună, fulgeră. State or condition verbs are also impersonal. These express general environmental or time-related states, such as e cald, e frig, e dimineață, e seară, e târziu, e devreme. Temporal change verbs describing the progression of time or light are also impersonal. Se înserează, se întunecă, se luminează, Other verbs commonly used in an impersonal manner include a merita, a rămâne, a trebui, and a urma that appear especially in general statements, observations, or expressions of necessity, possibility, or emotional response. Merită să încerci. Nu merită să te enervezi. Trebuie să plec. Trebuie să vorbim. Rămâne să vedem ce se întâmplă. Rămâne să stabiliți data. Urmează să aflăm rezultatele. Urmează să înceapă filmul. Impersonal constructions with sensory or psychological states that describe internal sensations or emotional states, often involving a person who experiences them, but that person is not the grammatical subject, are also impersonal. For example, îmi pare bine, îmi pare rău, îmi merge bine, îmi merge rău. Now, these are especially tricky because even though the dative pronoun îmi refers to a person, it's not a subject. The verb stays in the third person singular regardless of who the experiencer is. So we'll have îmi merge bine, îți merge bine, îi merge bine, ne merge bine, vă merge bine, le merge bine. Notice how the verb merge stays exactly the same in each sentence, only the dative pronoun changes. This is a typical feature of impersonal construction with the dative experiencer. The person feels the effect but isn't doing the action. This type of construction can also appear with an accusative experiencer. In these cases, the person who experiences the sensation or state is marked in the accusative. The experiencer behaves like a direct object, not a subject. For example, mă doare în gât. Once again, even though the accusative pronoun can change depending on the experiencer, the verb always stays in the third person. Mă doare în gât. Te doare în gât. Îl or o doare în gât. Ne doare în gât. Vă doare în gât. Îi or le doare în gât. These are just a few examples of when impersonal verbs are used in Romanian. If you're curious and want to dive deeper, the full lesson is waiting for you on my Patreon page. Alrighty, that's about it for now. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video and that you've learned something new. Don't forget to check out my Patreon for extra learning goodies from grammar and vocabulary exercises to printables, cultural podcasts, and so much more to support your language learning journey. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, I'll see you next time. Be happy. Be happy. Ba, ba, ba.